Hello, good morning and welcome to New Forest Morphs. We're at the end of a beautiful week. It's Friday and hopefully everyone's looking forward to the weekend. Certainly Jared and I are. We just wanted to give you a quick update on the clutch number 16. They've all come out of their eggs within a day or two and I've got them in front of us here so we can have a much better inspection, Jared. So this is clutch 16. It's the Phantom times the Mojave Ultramel with the parents. 8 eggs, laid on the 17th September, came on the 10th of November and they're looking pretty special. They're not out of shed yet, so they're going to be a little bit darker than we obviously, well, we expect them to be this dark because of their shedding, but once they shed out, Jared, everything's going to pop, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Jared, what have you just talk us through how you set up the shedding, the first shedding rub?
So we put them all in one rub. You can do separate rubs, but we just do it all in one. It makes more sense.
Yeah.
The way that we do it is we wait for the snakes to come out of the eggs. We then give them a rinse in some warm water, usually about 89 degrees.
Yeah.
And just rinse them off so you get rid of any vermiculite or substrate what you're using. Then you put them in a tub that's very moist and wet so they can shed out with a big bowl of water for all of them to drink from.
And you keep
them just shed in the next week or so and then put them in individual rubs.
So you keep them as a family in the first few days before they shed. And I think they like that, it's cosy. They're used to being in a family, aren't they? They've been moving around inside the incubator. And you'll notice there's very little noise in the facility at the moment. And the reason being is that we've closed down the incubator, haven't we, Jared?
Yeah.
The fan's stopping. And the only thing I can hear is the freezer. So I thought you'd have a look. Now, in terms of, we haven't sexed anything yet. We don't sex until they're out of their first shed and they're decent size. But also, how many, I think we've got more Mojaves than we thought.
Yeah.
If you're looking carefully, I can see quite a few Mojaves Het
There's one on
Ultramel.
the top there.
Yeah. I think there's one at the bottom.
This
as well.
one here, I think, is a Phantom.
Yeah.
This one down here, I think, is a Mojave. You can see the yellows are different, and the alien heads are more floaty rather than.
Yeah.
I reckon we've got 3 Purple Passions.
Yeah. There's one normal in there for
one normal.
100% Het Pied.
I think we've
Ultramel.
got 2 Phantoms and 2 Mojaves, or 3 Mojaves and 1 Phantom.
Yeah. And I reckon they're 80-gram snakes because the eggs were big.
Yeah, they're good size.
I mean, they are really good size, Jad. I don't think it'll take long for them to get up to the 100 plus. But we'll slip those back. So that was one of the things we wanted to give you a brief update on. And we've got 89 degrees on the hot spot there. And we set up the shedding rub 2 or 3 days beforehand. And also yesterday, Jared, when I saw them coming out of their eggs, rather than let the eggs stay in there, I removed them because they were empty shells, but they still have a little bit of stuff in there, and I didn't want that to infect them, so I got rid of it. Sometimes, you know,
It won't infect them, but
no, but you know how
dirty.
Dirty egg smell can build and everything. I like to be on top of those things. So the other thing is just to thank everyone for the fantastic feedback we're getting on the competition for Leonardo. There's quite a few people out there that are falling in love with him, and many of your responses have been heartwarming because, you know, we asked everyone to tell us why they'd like to have them in their collection, and you know, I think everyone that would like to win him has given us every reason. That I wish I had 3 or 4 Leonardos, to be honest with you, because there's so many people out there that would like to get into the Mojave and Pastavi project. I think quite a few people see him as a bell maker, and Mojave to Mojave are lovely, Mojave to Lessers are lovely. So the competition is still open, so if anybody wants to win him, I'll bring him out so you can just, actually I won't bring him out because it is feeding day today, isn't it?
Yeah.
But we'll just show you him in the rub so you can see how beautiful he is. And look, there he is, Jared. I think he's probably smelling the defrost rats, maybe.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how their super senses can pick up that. It is feeding day later today, so we're not going to be handling our snakes, but we will certainly just show you what's going on. The other thing I wanted to do is I wanted to discuss, talking of feeding, a different approach that we can take on the feeding. And Jared and I had a good conversation today, didn't we, Jared? And we're thinking about just twigging our feeding patterns to accommodate some of the healthy discussion that we've had this week. And what were we thinking, Jared, in terms of how we can adjust our feeding schedules?
I think what we were thinking, we were talking about the males and how once they've got to, say, about 1,000 grams, you don't want them getting too fat after that.
Yeah.
So we were thinking of doing a once every other week feeding, because that's what I used to do before we became a big facility and before we joined together.
Yeah.
And they were doing really well and thriving, and I think that would be best for our males.
I think what I find is that a lot of our males now up to size, and we've brought them up to size once a week, and now they're at that size, we're thinking if we feed them once every 2 weeks, they'll have sufficient to keep their energy levels going, and keeps them nicely topped up, but it doesn't take their stress levels too high. And then Jared, you mentioned on the girls that are still pounding at the moment, it's not a good idea to reduce the feed to the girls that are pounding building follicles, so we're going to continue with our regular feeding of those girls. But what was the other thought you had, Jared?
Well, the reasoning behind not reducing the food of the females that are pounding is because I've heard, and when I did my research starting off, they said that females, when they're building eggs and they're preparing to lay, they eat a lot more food and they build faster when they know there's a lot of food around. So if we start dropping back that food, they'll think, okay, there's not enough food for me to sustain my eggs and my babies and myself. So they stop building their eggs, or they reduce the speed in which they build them.
That's an interesting point that you make there. So we've got to be careful with how we adjust our feeding regimes, and I think you've got to look at it on an individual snake basis. So if you've got a girl that's definitely building and she wants to build follicles, then I think you've got to work with her, let her determine what she wants to do. I've also realised that one of the reasons why some girls do go off, I think, is that they want to bring their stress levels down before they get to the pounding stage, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to be feeding too early in the breeding cycle where you've already built up the metabolic rates and stress levels are high, because when they go into pound it will just go through the roof. So the idea is, I think Rob at Royal Bulls has taught me this principle. He said, get your timing right, slow them down prior to the pounding period, and then give your girls a low stress metabolic stress level. In other words, if they haven't heavily fed before you get to the key moment, when they get to the key moment and they need to really build, their stress levels are so low that they can take the extra pounding without taking their stress levels through the roof. In other words, it's a gentle process, and it's something that you learn with time, I think, and we're learning this. So I think what we're going to do is, if we feel that we've got any particular girls that could do with a rest, we're going to rest them and give them maybe a couple of weeks fast. Let them have a clear out. Let their metabolic rate just drop. Now, I know from a personal perspective in my faith, we fast once a month, and it's linked to our spiritual values and our spiritual strength. And I've found that when I fast once a month, I feel a lot better inside. I feel like all my body acids are relaxing, the internal organs that have to work so hard to digest food are given a couple of days just to rest, or a day to rest, and you feel picked up, and it works for me. So I can probably relate to maybe allowing our snakes to fast as a good thing, and maybe if a snake has gone off food, it's teaching us not to feed it. Maybe we've got to follow it. So just because a snake goes off food, Jared, doesn't mean to say we've got a problem. It might mean that our snakes just really want to have a rest, and we've got to follow that as well and be respectful. Okay, now the other thing we're going to do today is, Jared, we've got a snake that's being shipped out today. In fact, you've got a friend of the family picking up a snake.
Yeah.
We've never really done this, but let's just go through. You've set up the shipping or the pickup box. So let's just go through what you've done here, Jared. It's just your methods.
So as it's winter, and even in the summer we do it as well, we use a polystyrene box. It's good at keeping the warmth in.
And these are recycled because we've had these over the years, haven't we, Jared? Now, what have you put on the lid there?
So this is a hand warmer, and I've put it up on the lid and I've taped it in securely so that it doesn't drop on where the snake's going to be. And what this does is it will put like an ambient temperature in the box and keep it warm while it's travelling.
Okay.
And these last for, I think they're 48 hours.
Okay, and is this a purpose-built air hole, or is this...
No, that just broke off, but it doesn't affect it, so...
Yeah, how can it breathe in there, Jared? Because obviously it's quite a big box.
Yeah.
But some people drill holes.
There's more than enough air in this space to last the 2-hour journey that they have.
Is it a 2-hour journey?
If it was travelling abroad or something, yeah, you definitely need some holes.
So a lot of people put holes in their boxes so there's breathability.
And we have a built-in hole right here, as you can see, there's a little crack in the side, so it will allow some air in.
Yeah. And then we also have a t-shirt and some stickers in there, Jared. Let's see what you've done there.
So just some stickers, t-shirt, feeding record, and it was nicely folded.
Sorry, Jared. Sorry. I'll just fold that back. We'll put that back in.
I'll just rebuild it later.
Okay, and then what else have we got, Jared, here?
And then this is the tub that it's going to go in. So you pick a tub that's suitable for the size of the snake you're shipping.
Yeah.
I've just stuck on our label, just so they can see what it is, when it was born.
And they'll get a feeding record.
They get a feeding record with it as well.
And in that feeding record, there will be some degree of pedigree in there as well. So
it will say what the parents are,
yeah.
And it will have what they've eaten every single week,
yeah.
Every shed they've had.
And the elastic bands are to keep the snake in.
Yeah, I mean they're pretty secure as they are, but the elastic bands are just there to make sure the snake doesn't pop the lid.
And these have got nice holes in them as well, so it's got breathability.
Yeah.
And also the tissue's key because they might wee or poo.
Yeah, they might wee or poo, and you want to soak it up.
Yeah. So I think that's a really good setup, Jared, and it works really well.
If it was going abroad in Europe or something, I'd probably put some more things to compact it a bit. But as it's just going in a car, it's going to be seat belted in.
Yeah.
It's all right to leave it like this.
Okay. Excellent. And the snake that we're selling, Jared, what is it we're selling?
It's a het clown.
So obviously we haven't fed it this week because it's this is the other thing, is when we're moving snakes, it's important not to feed them in the week that they're moving because it'll make them easier to move, won't they, Jared?
Yeah.
And we've got a beautiful het clown. We'll just have a quick look at him. This is the one that's going. So there we go. It's getting close to nearly 300, Jared, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a good size.
Yeah. And it's a brand new. Is it the first snake that she's having, Jared?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a friend of the family, and it's lovely. So we wish you well. Look forward to that. Now, the other thing that we were going to do, Jared, is we've had lots of lovely feedback on the water quality. Lots of mixed views, lots of different feelings and theories. And I want to give a big shout out to Dave Carp, who's one of our followers, and he's the one that kind of has raised and heightened my what's the word? My focus. You've heightened my focus. You've made me rethink. And this is what I want to do: is I want to draw in the community and actually help us learn from each other. Now, Dave has sent me a lovely lot of links, and I want to share this particular video. It's a guy called Mad Brain Lab is the name of the YouTube channel, and it's there's a couple of doctors and scientists that are giving us an insight into what chlorine and fluoride does to the human body. It doesn't necessarily talk about snakes, but obviously if it affects us, it could well affect our snakes as well. So the other thing is, a lot of people are saying to us that the minerals and a lot of the minerals and calcium come from the prey item rather than the water, which is very true, isn't it, Jared? We believe that. But obviously water can also supplement the minerals as well. So let's have a look at this little video. It's quite an eye-opener, and let's have a little chat about that, and also let's look at some of the products. If we decide to use a filtration system, Dave sent us some really helpful links as well. So this is the video I'm going to just share. It's called Mad Brain Lab. Let's just see what they're talking about here.
Why do we age? Why do we grow older? Even though our cells have the ability to regenerate and clone themselves, shouldn't we then live forever? Well, the answer lies locked up within our cells. The human body is composed of skin cells, muscle cells, brain cells, cardiac cells, and a whole array of other cells and connective tissue, which we know as the human body. Within each cell lies the ability to replicate itself, locked up in the building plan we call DNA, or deoxyribonucleic acid. One of the reasons we age is because each time the cell divides, protective caps on the end of DNA called telomeres get shorter. This is a ticking time bomb, because when cells have divided enough and the telomeres are too short, they cannot replicate themselves anymore, and this is the reason for aging. One phenomenon responsible for accelerated death and cancer is free radicals. These are oxidative molecules that rip electrons from protein and DNA and complex molecules. Free radicals are metabolic byproducts. When DNA is damaged by free radicals, cell death or even cancer results from this, because the cell building plan is damaged. Here we have a simple experiment to show the destructive nature of oxidation and free radicals. In the one glass we have sodium hypochlorite, also known as bleach. This is a strong oxidizing agent. In the other control glass we will add normal tap water. Now we add a strawberry to both glasses and wait 10 hours. We can see how chlorine oxidizes molecules responsible for color absorption within the strawberry. It also damages cell membranes and is highly destructive to cells in the strawberry. The control strawberry looks the same as before. When we cut the strawberries, we can see that the chlorine has infiltrated almost the entire strawberry within 10 hours. Chlorine kills bacteria and small organisms easily because it disrupts cell membranes. Chlorine is widely used in drinking water, and studies suggest that long-term exposure to chlorinated drinking water is associated with an increased risk for bladder and rectal cancer. Even though studies are limited on this topic, I advise users to filter tap water. Just another quick way to see the aggressive oxidative nature of chlorine is to eliminate the color of methylated spirits with a few drops of sodium hypochlorite. For those interested in the structure of organic molecules, I advise you to check out a program or an online program called Canvas Mole. Here you can look at all kinds of different molecules, from serotonin to dopamine, and you can...
Lots of science stuff that nobody cares about.
Sorry. I found it really helpful, and thank you, Dave, for sharing that link with us, because it just goes to show the impact that some of these chemicals can have on us. And he's talking there, in extreme cases, we're talking about either cancers, and we're talking about damage to cell development, which is very interesting. And I know that there has been we're an aging population, therefore the propensity to catch cancers is going to increase in terms of the population. But I also think that our lifestyles and the way that we the fast pace of life and the stress levels that we go through, plus also combined with non-organic foods, and sometimes some of the policies that a lot of these water companies are owned by, perhaps there is an argument to say that the utility shouldn't be privately owned, but they should be publicly owned, so that there's not a for-profit motive, because the water companies don't invest heavily. They do try to get minimum standards, but I think we could be compromising. And I think it's important that we have a look at this. Now, the other thing that I was going to mention is that Dave sent me a second video from a doctor who talks about the damage that can be done in some of these things. I'm going to share that with you as well, and then we'll have a little chat and see what we're going to do here in terms of adopting, if we do decide to adopt a filtration system, what it costs, how to do it. And I've got some products that we can look at, which Dave has very kindly sent us, which I think he's just recently bought a new home, and he's put in a new filtration system, and he's saying it's made a big impact both for his family and for his growing collection. So I do like to hear from people that have experienced the benefits of this, because I think experience is really our greatest teacher. But let's study the science, and then let's make informed decisions. So let's just look at this other video. I'm just going to see if I can find that one as well. Drinking chlorine, it's called. Is chlorine in water, tap water, really that bad? Dr. Berg is going to explain. It's a 1-minute video, Jad, so it shouldn't take too long.
The reason why I work for Thornbury primarily is because I
might have to go through a few adverts first. So let's just skip the adverts. Let's just see. Here we go.
Hey guys, today we're going to talk about chlorine in tap water. Okay, now if you have city water, hopefully you have a filter underneath your sink or in your whole house. One point I want to bring up is that you actually, if you don't have a filter in your shower, you can absorb a tremendous amount of chlorine. So it does go through the skin. So there's some complications to chlorine. One is lung problems, increase your risk for bladder cancer, decreases your immune system. Of course, the CDC says it's safe, so we know it's safe, right? But it's very toxic to fish. But I do understand that you need to actually disinfect whatever's in the water, but you just need a good filter in your house. But here's an interesting point. You want to call your water company, and you want to find out, do they use just chlorine or a chemical called chloramine? Because the problem with chlorine is it evaporates easily and then it's gone. But what they did is they added ammonia to make a new chemical compound called chloramine, which is highly persistent. It stays in the water a lot longer, but the problem means it's more toxic. And regular activated carbon filters will not pull this out. You need something a little different. So if you have chloramine in your water supply, you need to get a high-grade catalytic carbon filter. Just a different filter you want to add either underneath the sink or for the whole house. All right, that's my tip of the day. Thanks for watching.
I think the standards of water are different in the UK and America as well, though. I think it's worth checking to see what's in your water first.
Jared, you spent 2 years in the States, didn't you? Serving your mission out there, and you loved the experience. But you moved around lots of different areas. Was the water quality different depending which area you went to?
Yeah. I mean, it's the same in the UK as well.
Yeah.
Wherever you go, the water tastes different always. But the best water was the ones that came straight from a well.
Yeah.
And that was always the nicest.
And why do you think that would be then, Jared?
It wasn't really too altered that much.
Yeah. Come and have a little look over here, Jared. Look, just shine the camera through the window. What have we got in our garden that we could tap into?
A well.
We've got a well. Yeah. The Victorians used to take their water.
I don't know if I trust that one though. It was a bit of a different well. It's more of like a newer, modern well.
Yeah. Because we live in a Victorian house that's built in the 1880s. The water they used to get back in the Victorian state, they used to dig a well and take it from there. And now we've got these massive big water companies that are recycling water. And also I do know, being a fisherman, that some of the chemicals that they have to recycle can't be removed. And then the reason I know that is because we studied studies on roach fishing in the Hampshire Avon have shown that because of the high rate of chemicals that are being released into our water system from the pill. I can't remember what they use. There's a chemical in the pill jar that it's very difficult to remove from water. It's changing the sex of the animal, of the roach. So you're finding that the boy roach, the male roach, are becoming female roach because of the chemicals in the water. That's what they've studied. So there's actually been a sex change because of the. So they're recycling the water multiple times and treating it and making it as safe as they can. And I just think we've got to be really careful with the water quality. So Dave, thank you so much for sharing that with us. He has given us some products. It's not as expensive as people think. I reckon £100 well spent could give your family and your snakes better quality of water. And maybe on the next video we'll share some of the products. Jared and I are going to have a good look at it. Have a lovely weekend. Thank you so much. And of course I must give a shout out to Rich just to end the video, Predator BP. Rich has been a wonderful friend over the years and helped us get into this hobby, and we just want to give you a big shout out. Right, thank you very much, and we shall see you over the weekend. Bye bye for now.